afternoon, everyone. I am Beth Waldrip, the area's Business Retention and Expansion Manager. I'm filling in today for our CEO and President, Danielle Casey, who could not join us today because we have exciting news. She's joining the governor at 2:30 to announce a new company and actually a new industry that area worked very hard on to bring to the community. Before we get going, I have a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded, and following today's program, we'll be sending a post-webinar survey that will include a link to the recording. For those who have technical issues or general questions, please utilize the chat function in your Zoom toolbar. If you have a question for the speaker, submit it using the Q&A tool. We will work to get as many questions as possible answered and want to follow up with additional information on those that we were unable to get to. I'd like to give an update on what my new role is here at Area. I am now full-time business retention and expansion support. So I'm out meeting with local companies, taking their pulse on their pains and their growth. Here at Area, we've always prioritized our mission and vision of focusing on growth and diversity in the economic base of the Albuquerque MSA. Last year, we implemented 2 great resources that any business in the greater Albuquerque region could utilize. One of these is an online data tool called Size Up. It's a data and research tool that can empower companies to make strategic and data-driven decisions on their next move. It's an incredible tool that's free to use, and it helps leverage small business to their next growth opportunity. You can head over to www.abq.org/sizeup to check it out and preview a tutorial on how to get the most of this resource. In partnership with the Bank of Albuquerque, Area now has an online job board that allows for any business in the 4-county region to post career opportunities. I really encourage you all to take advantage of this. It's an easy to use tool that's perfect for promoting high quality career opportunities. And if you'd like to post your available positions for no cost, head over to www.abq.org/jobs and watch the tutorial on how to easily upload your job postings. In addition to these resources, I'm offering assistance in navigating incentive programs. In a few, we will hear an incentive program success story from one of Area's locates, TORC Robotics. So why do we have incentive programs? There's many tax credits, wage credits available to companies. 2 of these in particular are JTIP and WIOA. JTIP is a state program available to manufacturing and economic-based employers. WIOA is a federal program that reimburses up to 6 months of wages for on-the-job training, and that's available to any employer. And if you're interested in these incentive programs, just email me at bwaldrip@abq.org and set up an appointment. I'd be happy to discuss them further with you. So in September of 2020, TORC Robotics announced their partnership with Daimler Trucks North America and an expansion of their self-driving on-road testing facility in the Albuquerque area. TORC has tested its self-driving vehicle system on multiple platforms and in many states, including a cross-country trip in 2017. Since arriving in Albuquerque, TORC teams have been mapping routes in New Mexico for an on-road testing program and have been recruiting team members in the region. Today, we are pleased to have TORC's Albuquerque testing facility office manager, Lisa Atkinson, here to discuss their recruitment efforts and their success stories using the JTIP program. Lisa.
Here we go. Okay, thanks everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. I would like to thank the area staff for inviting me to be a part of this webinar. Today, I'd like to share a tremendously valuable resource that we at TORC have taken advantage of in order to help us achieve our ambitious hiring goals, and that is the JTIP, or Job Training Incentive Program, offered by the New Mexico Economic Development Department. Can't say enough good things about this program, but before I jump into that, I'd like to give you a quick background on TORC itself and how we ended up here. As Beth mentioned, an important milestone for TORC's journey to New Mexico happened in 2019 when we partnered with the Daimler Trucks family in order to combine our efforts to create highly automated semi-trucks to serve the needs of a growing freight economy. 2020 saw TORC experience unprecedented growth as it established a testing facility in Albuquerque. In a nutshell, the main focus of this facility is on testing and implementation of self-driving technology, which is a young and extremely fast-growing industry. Faced with such a dynamic expansion during the middle of a pandemic, we look towards local experts, like the knowledgeable folks at AREA, to help us get settled. They had a hand in helping us with our current location, and they also pointed us towards the JTIP program, so we have a lot to thank you guys for. The JTIP program funds classroom and on-the-job training for newly created jobs in expanding or relocating businesses for up to 6 months per trainee, reimbursing 50 to 75% of employee wages. An easy way to determine if your company is eligible is to hop over to the JTIP website and submit the JTIP eligibility questionnaire. There's also a wealth of information there that covers what kind of companies and positions are available for funding. When we were building our proposal for the first contract, the JTIP staff took time to set up a call with us to go over the critical areas of the application step by step, including providing templates for training plans and help finding the correct ONIT codes for the positions, and also in my case, explaining what an ONIT code is. Once the proposal is submitted and accepted for inclusion into the next board meeting agenda, you'll receive an invite to virtually attend and speak for your company. Having attended a few of these now, I can tell you that emphasizing the viability of your business and how adding new jobs will directly contribute to business expansion is the key to getting board approval. Okay, quick overview on what a typical JTIP contract cycle looks like. Once you get approval from the board, you have a 6-month period to do the training, and you have an additional 6-month period to do the hiring. Once you get approval from the board, you have 6 months to do the hiring and then 6 months to train the hires. At the end of the hiring period, you're required to submit a hiring report, which accounts for the positions that you've filled. So any positions that weren't filled in that time period revert back to JTIP. The great thing about this is if you run into issues like attrition, the position can still be eligible if you backfill it within the 6-month hiring period. Reimbursement claims are made throughout the training period as the individual trainees reach the required training hours. The first claim will be audited by an internal JTIP staff, and the last claim on a contract must have an approved third-party CPA audit report to be submitted with the closeout. So now I hope everyone's thinking, what a great program. What to do with the funds? Well, in our case, TORC has been able to apply the reimbursed funds from our first contract in a variety of ways that have improved how we attract and retain talent. We've utilized a portion of the funds to expand our marketing and outreach for new candidates, including attending more virtual and local job fairs. It's also allowed our talent acquisition department to strengthen and expand our internal referral program. Another portion of the funds have been put towards getting better equipment for new hires and welcome kits that cement TORC's appreciation for its employees. Probably the biggest advantage that has come from this program that's helped us achieve is being able to provide more competitive compensation packages to attract quality hires both locally and nationally. Lastly, we've used some of the funds to employ a variety of New Mexico small businesses to renovate and expand our current facility to meet the needs of our growing employee base, which not only benefits operations, but the local economy as well. So we are on our 4th contract. One is closed, and TORC has successfully claimed 23 positions on our first contract. As of today, all those trainees are still with TORC, including me, and more than half have gone on to receive promotions and/or wage increases due to their exemplary work. So a few things tips that I've picked up in participating in JTIP. First, you do have the ability to amend your contract or have concurrent contracts running, but you really need to pay attention to the board meeting schedule. JTIP board meetings happen on the 2nd Friday of the month, and to be accepted on the agenda, materials must be submitted 1 month in advance, so it's good to keep that in mind. Secondly, when tracking your trainees, set calendar notifications to alert you for contract deadlines. Now, I know this is a no-brainer, really, but especially with multiple contracts and people starting at different times, it just makes life so much easier. Lastly, definitely get your third-party CPA selected and booked out 3 to 4 months in advance of the contract closeout, because I have found that locally it is difficult. They're usually booked out that far ahead. Since we have opened, our operations have grown leaps and bounds, in no small part due to our participation in this program. Having this kind of assistance can really make or break a small company, and for TORC it has made such a huge impact. I would heartily recommend that you check out this program, as it is truly worth its weight in gold. I want to thank everyone who joined today for their time. It's been a pleasure. If you have any further questions about the JTIP program, my email address is included on the slide. Please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Up next is our panel discussion, and this is a reminder to our viewers to use the Q&A function if you have any questions. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator today, Mandy Hale, VP of Finance and HR at LQ Digital. Mandy has been with LQ for 5 years. She has 20+ years of finance, accounting, HR experience, mostly within various Bay Area startups. Currently, Mandy resides in Northern California. Welcome, Mandy.
Thank you, Beth. I think I bring a unique perspective to this topic today, our recruiting challenges, as we are new to the Albuquerque market. We've been in business for over 15 years, but we've operated our call centers predominantly on the East and West Coast. And so we recently moved to Albuquerque because you guys have no weather or natural disasters, which we liked. And obviously the people were the big selling point. So we've recently opened a 100-person facility in downtown Oakland, or downtown Albuquerque in October of last year. And we had really aggressive plans to fill the space quickly. And so while we're not there yet, we're about 80% there. We've had some learnings along the way. I think some of the things that have helped us in the ramping up was partnering with the local community and networking. We have a referral program that has proven successful in bringing in talent. We are offering competitive wages and benefits. And I think we have the opportunity to kind of create ourselves new, because nobody had heard of us before. But we have definitely had our challenges. I think one of the biggest ones was COVID kind of surprised us yet again in January with Omicron, and that put pause on our hiring there for a little bit. But then the other thing we're experiencing is some turnover. So I'm really interested in talking to Beth and Joe today about what they're seeing in the market. So first up today, I am going to introduce Misty Sanders. She's the Director of HR for French Funerals and Cremations. She's not able to join us today, but we have a pre-recorded brief presentation from her. But just to give you a sense of Misty, she's been in New Mexico since 2011, in HR since 2007, and she's been at French Cremations since 2018. She plays a very integral part in supporting the families of the community who are experiencing loss. Her HR experience includes recruiting, onboarding, performance appraisals, employee engagement, coaching, counseling, benefits, and strategic planning. And she has a really unique perspective as well, because she's working with a company that is rich in history, 114 years, but then she's able to bring a new and different insight to the company, and she's working on bringing up and training this next generation of professionals within her company, and also to support the community. So let's take a look at her video.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here with everyone today. I wanted to share a little information on how we adjusted to the pandemic. I know we all experienced some things that we had never seen before, and some steps that we took to move forward as best we could in an ever-changing world, was really taking a step back and looking at how can we recruit our current team in a more creative way, and how do we recruit when the pipeline for talent is so small for our licensed funeral director positions, as well as our support positions. It was something that we had never seen before, and really had to start thinking about our positions a lot differently. So one thing that we started doing immediately was looking at our current staff and how we can utilize them in a more creative way that's more efficient for everyone, as well as helping growing the pipeline of talent internally. So we have a lot of people that have the commitment to our company, but also our values and the passion to serve our community, that we could help grow into a licensed position. So we put in place an educational assistance program to help those that are on the career path in the funeral industry get there quicker and build our own pipeline of talent, because I know so many other industries that are especially specialized and licensed really struggled in finding those individuals who are moving forward in the licensed role, or who are currently licensed that aren't looking to be in the industry anymore. So that was one step that we took pretty quickly into the pandemic to, because we immediately saw that there wasn't a pipeline of talent anymore. So we found that we've been very successful in building up some of our current staff and helping them get through mortuary school to become licensed. The other part of that was recruiting externally. In the past, like so many others, we didn't have as tough of time finding both the support positions and the licensed positions. There were people that were looking to transition into the industry, and we know that we lost so many people during the pandemic who weren't looking to work in the industry, or taking some time to be with their families and adjusting for their personal well-being. So we took a step back and looked at what are we requiring for our positions that maybe we don't need to require right now. So one of those big things was when we had posted for a licensed position, we scaled that back and looked at what is really important to us first and foremost, and that is our values. So we knew that we needed to hire to our values and to the soft skills rather than the skill set that comes out of going to school or having years of experience in the industry. So we were able to find wonderful people that came from call center backgrounds, hospital backgrounds, EMTs, who all have that passion to serve, but maybe looking to do something a little different. So without the changes with the pandemic, we would have maybe never opened it up as much as we were able to do. So we looked at that as a great opportunity, and we've hired some great people that have brought such a different perspective and knowledge and experience to our industry that we find very, very valuable. One of the highlights I would share is we had a location manager position available, and traditionally this has been a position that required the person to be a licensed funeral director. And we knew that the pipeline for that somebody who has management experience as well as a licensed funeral director was going to be very, very hard to find. So we took a calculated risk, and we recruited in a slightly different way. We went through LinkedIn Recruiter and really focused on the management skills we were looking for, as well as those soft skills. So in doing that, we found a great candidate who came from a call center background, many, many years of management experience, people experience, has the passion for more of a customer service focused role, who was looking to try something completely new. And we would have never found him if we didn't take that step out of our comfort zone. So we were able to recruit him. He, from day one, was able to help families in an industry that he had never been in. He didn't know the ins and outs of the funeral industry. He just knew how to approach people. And that was something that was so valuable to the team, and it was an immediate value add to our company. And he actually has just graduated mortuary school, so he is license bound as well. But that was something that was really uncomfortable for not only us on the management level, but also for our employees, because they were scared that this individual wouldn't bring as much support as they needed. And I think they quickly found that with the management background, he was able to do so. Some of the things I just want to pinpoint today is thinking more creatively about your current staff, how you can re-recruit them and provide more opportunities for them, because they're already shown that they're committed to your company. So how can you continue to help build within and continue your talent pipeline? And also recruiting externally. What's really important to your company? And are there things that aren't really required but have always just been on the job description? And so just taking a look at that and being more open-minded. The pandemic put us into a very ever-changing world very quickly, but I look at it as so many great opportunities to do things a little bit different. Thank you.
Thanks to Misty to putting that video together for us. Next, I would like to introduce Joe Mercadante. He's a practice director, finance and accounting at HAF. He's been placing accounting and finance talent for the top employers in New Mexico. He's also a multi-million-dollar producer and a President's Club Award recipient. And he has experience in hiring and recruiting, compensation and business development, and he's had multiple roles: site employment manager, senior career consultant, and now practice director. He has been helping individuals and people seek out Joe's help for his expertise in many different areas. People have questions about the local job market or hiring trends or what the salaries are, both for employers and job seekers. He can answer questions about AED, and he's even been known to have some guest appearances on the Fox New Mexico Living. He's a strong advocate for his community and serves on a few boards: IMA's New Mexico chapter, CNM's Corporate Advisory Board, and Corporate Advisory Board of UNM's Beta Alpha Psi. So welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Mandy. Let me get my screen sharing here, and we'll be able to go ahead, everyone. I'm thinking there's going to be some consistent themes along the way here after listening to Misty. We are definitely in a new environment these days, and it's highly competitive for the war on talent. You can't take your old recruiting book out and just dust it off. You need to be creative to the best that you can. And so we're going to talk about some of the trends that are affecting the labor market and challenges that hiring managers are having, but some tips and tricks that I think you'll find very practical that you could implement as we move through finding the right talent for you and your organization. I think the thing that I wasn't going to touch on that Misty brought up is the whole value-based hiring as you bring people into your organization, and less about the hard skills. So that's a golden nugget. All right, so here's what we're seeing in the marketplace. Now this is a national perspective here, and then I'm going to bring it down to New Mexico and Albuquerque. But the unemployment rate in February just came out, right, was 3.8%, and 678,000 new jobs were added in February. This is really unprecedented. There's 11.3 million openings right now, and the quit level is at all-time high. So people are voluntarily, leaving their job either for another job, for self-employment, for being with family, taking a break, whatever the case may be, but they're willing to leave their jobs at much higher rates than before. So you take all these things and it certainly compounds the challenge in the market. Historically, by the way, a little fun fact here, economists would say anywhere from 4 to 5% unemployment rate was typically considered full employment, which meant, hey, the people that want and can work probably have work. We're below that number, and the job market is extremely strong. In all my years of doing this and all my gray hair, this is the tightest I've seen with the candidate market. So you may have heard some of these things of the great resignation, the great reshuffle, the great reconfiguration. So the dynamics have definitely changed here. Went too far. New Mexico, take a look at this, if you will. So the unemployment rate for the state, 5.8%, Albuquerque 4.6. That is definitely in that economists range of full employment. You know, we were recently noted in Albuquerque Business Journal as number 8 in job growth. And so, you know, it's great to see these things happening right now, but it also means everybody's, you know, looking for talent at this particular time. Down here. So here's some things that are affecting. I seem to be jumping a double slide when I do this. I apologize. Okay, so this is a thing to think about in terms of, as tight as it is, and Misty touched on this too, is sort of cultivating and creating your own workforce. So what can you do in terms of upskilling, reskilling? She definitely talked about that. So do you have some virtual training? Can you do some micro learning? You know, C&M has lots of programs that they offer with that. Mentoring, you know, having a person inside that can help develop and train, the peer-to-peer learning, and providing the financial aid. So these recommendations that are out there are definitely what we're seeing employers do, and the ones that are able to pivot and do these are the ones that are having the greatest success. And then loosening hiring requirements, as Misty gave great example of what they did in their organization. And we're seeing the best success where people can maybe loosen some of that up and train where you can. So if it required a certain software, is that something that they've worked with 2 other software packages? Can they learn that? They need to learn PowerPoint. Can we give them a class in that? But you're hiring more for some of the values that you're hiring for, and the soft skills. And then if there's transferable skills, to be able to look at those things. And then another way to cultivate is certainly look at student and feeder programs, I like to call them. So there's internships, there's C&M, there's, you know, co-ops, all those kinds of things that we don't think about because they take sort of long-term to cultivate and be beneficial for you. They're not going to fill your seat on Monday to have somebody producing. But to be able to tap into that, again, it's a missed opportunity in the long run if it's not one of the tools in your toolbox. Also, the internal referral program, good people, know good people, and your employees are definitely your best brand ambassadors out there in the marketplace. And as much as you can engage them in your recruitment and retention and retaining your talent, that is a good thing to do. In terms of, you know, it's not just HR's role these days or talent acquisition departments to find talent. It's kind of everybody's role. And the more people you have involved, the greater your success rate can be with all of that. I have to imagine that you're seeing some of this when it comes to hiring. Everybody is getting frustrated by the ghosting that goes on when, you know, you're moving along through the process and then a candidate cuts off all contact and simply vanishes off the face of the earth. So how can you affect this? And that is, this is some data from a survey that we did. The increase of that is much higher, 39%, but the feedback from candidates and job seekers is a key contributor to that is the poor interview process or a drawn out interview process. So my recommendation here is, as I touched on breaking out your dusty old recruiting book, if you haven't had to do it in a while, is the multi-step, multi-evaluation, process that you're running people through. If you're doing that, are there opportunities to consolidate some of that and some of those steps? And there's just way too many options for job seekers out there to drag something on for a 3 or 4 step process when you could maybe bring it down a few. That's probably the biggest thing I see in the recruitment process that's affecting that whole ghosting piece, taking too long and not really selling what you have to offer a potential employee, excuse me. Why are they rejecting? So then you've made offers and then maybe they go get a counter offer or they reject your offer. The survey we did, pretty broad, it was almost 3,000 job seekers, as they wanted some more flexibility in their work schedule. Whether that's some sort of hybrid or some ability to work from home. Have a construction company that coming out of the pandemic, they're a very successful general contractor that's a client of mine. They talked to their employee base and they got creative in what they came up with, because obviously a construction person can't work remotely, they got to be on the job, is they came up with a 4 10-hour work week that everybody gets to participate in. They've worked out some bugs within that, but so far so good. People like it. The feedback's good, and the retention level is stayed extremely high. Here's this other piece of why it took so long. Or why they reject offers, it simply took so long and they've moved on. And then competitive salaries. Definitely this market condition has driven up salaries, and that needs to be revisited. And there's a number of ways that you can find out what's competitive out there. We definitely have our salary guides that we use, and you can definitely have those if you'd like, or talk to me, and we can cover administrative, accounting, and finance, technology, all of those kinds of roles. As an example, you have Target and Walmart paying $15 an hour minimum wage. So that's what you're competing against if you're trying to hire people for less than that, just to keep that in mind. So here we have a couple more slides here, and then we're going to be able to take some questions too. Some of this is repeating, but some creative ways to hire bigger salaries, more remote work options. And this is a situation where, talk to your employees, see what works for them, and maybe enter into some sort of opportunities for people to maybe have a little more flexibility in their schedule. To have to go back into an office returning from the pandemic just because seems to be the greatest flight risk for employers right now. But if you make it purposeful and a reason and not just checking a box, we're seeing a lot greater success with that. Time off, if you're not competitive, this 1 week after a year accumulated just isn't competitive these days. 2 weeks is generally the minimum there. And then this talks too about the less rigid education and experience and skill requirement, that train where you can not miss out on a good person just because they don't have QuickBooks Desktop versus QuickBooks Online. The flip side for candidates, what they're desiring, right? The higher salaries, the better perks and benefits, and the ability to work remotely. Let me get down here a little more. this is a good one here. I'm going to cover this because it, Albuquerque and New Mexico have historically been a traditional workforce, meaning, people go to work in offices and in buildings and such. And, the environment's changed to some bit. And so the ability to, look at the opportunity where you might be able to flex that with some remote work. Not all jobs are doing that, but, and can do that, but where you could, to consider that. I had an employer tell me the other day, he said, this is a big paradigm shift for everyone. This is the largest proof, how do you say this? Largest proof of concept for remote work ever. You don't have to be limited to talent only in your back, yard, right? You can go elsewhere. Here. Yeah, so I've kind of covered that. Didn't have the slide up, but you can see, and multiple responses were on this big survey that we did. So I hope that helps cover a few things for you. I'm pleased and delighted to be able to be part of this today. Thanks for asking me. Here's my contact information. I'm happy to do any way to be a resource to you. One of the things our company did, since we weren't doing business cards because we weren't out networking and handing out business cards, we did QR codes. So that's got all my contact information too, but definitely my email is there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. I want to encourage everybody on the call, if there's any questions, anything comes up, to put your question in the chat and we'll get to it. But before we get to any other questions or discussions, I would like to introduce Beth Barela, Marketing Manager of Manpower. Beth has 4 decades of staffing industry experience, and people are her passion. She started in the staffing industry when her mom opened a franchise over 20 years ago. And so now with Manpower, she focuses on supporting businesses, administrative support, and also manufacturing production. And her office specializes in full-time temp to hire, and also with direct hire and perm placements. And Manpower likes to pride itself on its long-term partnerships, many of which have been over 10 years. And Beth is also serving in the community on the board of directors of Workforce Connections in Central New Mexico. And she's also on the executive committee. And she will be traveling to Washington, D.C. to attend the National Association of Workforce Boards. And she has also served on the board of directors for AREA for several years. So welcome, Beth.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me to this forum. I think it's extremely important that we talk about it now and moving forward, because the nature of our labor market is quite honestly changing very, very rapidly. So it's probably important that we have these discussions regularly, because things will change quite often. So once again, thank you all for inviting me to this. I wanted to touch a little bit on what Joe spoke about as far as the current workforce and taking the current workforce and really taking a look at them and making sure that employers aren't pigeonholing our folks that are looking for employment based on their resume. Let's open our mind to some other positions that these folks could very well fit into with a little bit of training and that sort of thing. So let's just get out of the mindset of pigeonhole people into different positions based on their resume. I mean, they have a lot of skills, tangibles, soft skills, that sort of thing, that may very well be transferable to other positions that are different than what they've previously done. So it's our job as employers to recognize those folks, because I really feel like we may not have a talent shortage, but perhaps we're not recognizing folks that could very well fit into our open positions with a little bit of training, mentoring, and some open-mindedness with bringing them into positions that may not match exactly what their resumes say. So let me just say that to begin with. What I wanted to talk about, and because I'm not sure if this is something that's an obstacle or a challenge for all of you that are in the employment industry and in your recruiting efforts. So I wanted to talk specifically about recruiting as it relates to job fairs and job postings. So promoting your career fair and your job postings on social media is not an option in today's times. You've got to get on there. You have to be on every single platform you possibly can. Not only that, you need to be on the platforms consistently. Make sure your branding is such that when people see your postings, your branding is the same across the board. So people start recognizing that visually. So of course, career fairs, job postings on social media. You know, of course, we use job boards, but social media, we are using Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Glassdoor. I did some research last night, and interestingly enough, Facebook is still the #1 social media platform for all the generations. Stepping back just a minute, yes, it is the #1 social media platform that all generations are looking at, but each generation likes to see postings that may be a little bit different. So let's say the millennials want to see videos. They want to see employment testimonials. They want to see live feeds. They want to see like employee testimonials and that sort of thing that can very, very easily be posted on your Facebook pages. So the most effective posts are going to be short videos, live videos. Let's say you're at a job fair. Go ahead and broadcast live in that job fair. Put on some employee testimonials. Some of your, top producers, have them get on there and really be a cheerleader for your company and post some testimonials. So, yeah, there's some of the things. Let's move on to recruiting and job fairs. This is important. So promoting your job fair on social media and tips for success. Okay, post your job fair as an event on your company's social media page and boost the post. Ensure your post shows multiple ways to reach you for questions, whether it's call, text, and email. And make sure that when they're reaching out to you, they're not getting a voicemail. Try the best you can that person is reaching out to a person. Otherwise, they may just go on to the next employer where they can actually speak with someone. On Facebook especially, post your job fair or even jobs to additional pages and groups that are employment related. I know Facebook, as an example, you can post to your own page, but in addition, take a look at Facebook and look for groups and pages that are job related and within the Albuquerque metro market. Post on those pages. They're very receptive to letting you do that. I've gotten a lot of results from doing that. Let's talk about during the job fair, okay? So during the job fair, oftentimes this is your company's first impression for a lot of folks that are coming through the job fair. Make sure your folks that are working the job fair are wearing company branded attire. make sure they're neat, clean, grooming, smiling, make eye contact, thank the candidate, all those fundamental human type internet interactions. I have a big pet peeve with this. When you're going around to job fairs, don't sit and wait for the candidate to come to you and you're still sitting and the person's standing. Stand up, eye contact, engage with them. The same thing goes as people that are sort of meandering around the job fair. They're kind of hesitant. Call them over and say, hey, come on over. Just engage them. It's important that we engage them, make eye contact, thank the candidate. Once again, don't sit while you are visiting with the candidates. If you're working with someone alongside you, like say a coworker, be mindful of how much you're chatting with that peer or coworker and sort of disregarding or not paying attention to the folks that are walking by your booth. Okay. I'm really pushing this right now. Invite an employee that is currently performing that same job that you are recruiting for to work the job fair with your recruiter, right? Choose a top performer or an employee with tenure, somebody that's sort of, a superstar within your company, and invite them to participate in the job fair with your recruiter. They're going to speak to the open job better than any recruiter can, right? And I really think that could be an incentive for folks within your current workforce, and sort of be a honor to be invited to the job fair to participate. I really like that idea.
We have some chatter on chat about promoting your job that I thought I might just bring to your attention and maybe you can comment on. We have someone talking about how we work and day in the life videos can really be helpful in letting prospective candidates understand what the role is like, or even what the company is like. And I thought maybe you could comment on that.
Absolutely. I mean, even at job fairs, you could have, if the person isn't coming to the job fair, you could film a video of that person and show it. That could be another avenue to do that, because quite honestly, and Joe will attest to that, no matter how hard we try to bring that position to life for our candidates, there's probably something lost in that translation between what I'm telling the candidate that they're going to be doing and what they're hearing in their head. So I think it would be really important to the video. Wonderful, Mandy. And also invite them to the job fair. I mean, give them a little bit of training as far as what your expectations are and that sort of thing. But I think they really could connect. As an example, let's say you're recruiting for production operators at a manufacturing plant. Invite one of your top superstars to that job fair and have him be right there to talk to the candidates about what their day is like. I just love that. I just love that option. So be sure your recruiter knows their expectations, right? Are you picking the right recruiter to work your job fairs? We want energy, we want engagement, we want them standing and talking with potential candidates. I think it's important as a company to shop the job fair. Take a look and see how your recruiters are interacting with the job fair attendees. Not that you want to call them out on anything, but it could be an opportunity to for some training. Another thing would be to walk away, ensure employees are being, another thing, competitively, okay. It's imperative that the wages that you are offering are the same or higher than what similar businesses are paying in the area. If your wages are not at the competitive wage level, ask yourself, what are you willing to give up because your wages are not competitive? Okay. The other companies in town are paying this wage for the very similar type job. Okay. And you're not, let's say the company is not, they're paying under, regardless of what the benefits are offered and that sort of thing, because folks are looking for the wage. The wage is going to get them through the door. Okay. So if you're not offering that competitive wage, what are you willing to give up? Because you're not. Are you willing to give up background and drug screens? Are you willing to offer the position to candidates that may need training to be work ready in the position? Are you willing to accept candidates that aren't top level? So you can't pay under competitive wages and expect top talent. So number one, you have to be at least the baseline of what the competitive wage is or higher if you want to be an employer of choice. So like I said, a competitive wage may bring the candidate to you, but it's not going to keep them. So think about things like, what is the first day experience for some of your employers? Is their workstation ready? Is their logon ready? Is their badge ready? I've heard so many stories of our employees that call us and say, I'm not really sure. I'm kind of sitting here in a cubicle and I'm not really sure what to do. And honestly, that happens a lot. So it's really important that employers really have solidified that first day experience for employers, okay? Are your frontliners or your frontline supervisors trained in employee engagement? Oftentimes we put folks in frontline supervisory positions because they were really good at the job they were doing. That doesn't mean they're leaders and know how to manage a workforce. So perhaps they need a little bit of training in that regard, okay? Do your frontline supervisors embrace your culture? We want to make sure that they're really a cheerleader for your company. I love this idea. Implement an ambassador program by selecting tenured employees that will be a peer to your new employees, okay? The ambassador can be very effective in showing the new employee around. Introduce them to fellow coworkers, answering questions that your new employee may be hesitant to ask their manager. People are a little bit hesitant, maybe intimidated to ask their manager. Managers always look very busy and they feel like they're interrupting them. But if you have an ambassador program in place, like a go-to person, a go-to peer. So twofold, the ambassador program will elevate employee retention and morale by showing that you recognize the outstanding performance and tenure of your current employees by choosing them for this important role. You could switch up the ambassador program at a length of time you choose. The current ambassador could train the new ambassadors. I mean, really, this sort of thing doesn't cost a lot of money, but I think it could be really, really effective in helping engage new employees because we're finding turnover can often happen within the first week or 2 weeks. Why is that happening? They've been told exactly what the job is they're doing. They're not feeling engaged. They're feeling like kind of out there in the middle of nowhere. So just had some ideas like that. So hope that's helpful to you guys.
Thank you so much, Beth. Appreciate all that insight. Super helpful. We've had a question from one of the audience members asking about kind of suggestions, kind of trying to bring people to maybe new industries or, maybe people that are not working right now and kind of entice them into work. They've mentioned sign-on bonuses, and I'm just curious how that might circle back to what you were just talking about, Beth. People aren't going to probably churn as easily if they're kind of waiting for payment of some type of bonus. So What are your ideas or strategies of getting kind of like people into new markets, or people out of retirement maybe, or people that are staying at home right now but back into the workforce?
Very good question. We're working with a lot of our customers right now that we're beyond the days of you receiving a resume that's going to match up with every single thing you need within that job description. So we are really training our customers to take a look at that person and find out what skills they have that can be transferable to this position they have open, and be employers, be open-minded to that. You know, I think it's important to bring people in from different industries because they're going to bring a fresh pair of eyes. They may have some great ideas. They haven't been in that industry forever and ever and ever. And so I think it could be they could bring a fresh impression to the job, and they have the tangible skill set. So why not? Why not, right? Now I can tell you that there are so many people, so many companies in Albuquerque that, yes, are offering bonuses. We have companies that are offering bonuses at 30 days. This is on a temporary basis, okay? Offering our temporaries 30-day bonus by staying, and they have to meet some, you know, attendance criteria and that sort of thing. After 30 days, they're paying them $500. After 60 days, they're paying them another $1,000. So employees are really, really committed to keep their employees on board. Money is a huge incentive, not the only one. Culture is an incentive. There's so many variables that play into this. But if they're looking at a company and know that that company pays $500 at 30 days, and again at 60 days, well, you know, that company has an edge. So make sure you know what your competition is doing as far as compensation, not only pay rate, but what are they offering in the beginning to keep that person on board in the very beginning? Did that answer your question?
I think so. Yeah, I think both of you, we've really touched on most of the topics when it comes to recruiting, sourcing your candidates, interviewing, job fairs, how to select them, also the onboarding process and the retention process. So I really think we've covered kind of a broad array of topics. So thank you both. I appreciate your time. And Beth, I think if there's something you wanted to wrap up, I know we're at time right now, so I'm just conscious of everyone's time.
What did I want to
You're
wrap?
on mute.
Oh, sorry. I knew I'd do that at some point.
Am I on mute?
No, I'm
The other Beth.
the other Beth.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm like, sorry.
Beth also. I want to thank everybody for their time today. If you had a question in the chat and you weren't unable to get it answered, I will be sending out links with contact information and little 3-question survey. And if you want one of those questions in there is if you want to get in contact with one of the panelists specifically, just answer that. It's a simple 3 questions and I'll get back to you. Thank you for your time. We're also looking for suggestions for future webinars. This is going to be a regular part of the Business Retention and Expansion Program. So if you have any creative ideas for future webinars on how to engage the business community, just send me an email. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day.
Good to see everybody. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for joining.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.